Let's talk about eFrontiers. Now, I cannot talk to you about just join. What is the TLDR of Eve stuff? PI templates and Dread insurance better patches. That was about it for Eve Online. Okay. So I hope so too. We're coming out of it. He spent Saturday mostly throwing up. I've been kind of sick too, but not nearly as bad. Today he's been able to like eat and do stuff just normal, but he is very congested and sounds still congested, so we kept him home for one more day. Okay, so let's talk about eFrontier and how much I can't talk about eFrontier. eFrontier is under an NDA. If you go to log in, if you go to create an account for the eFrontier website, you have to check a box that says that you agree to the NDA. So there is not a lot I can talk to you about when it comes to eFrontier, even though they want your money. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about this. I find it incredibly weird that CCP, like, it's even weirder than that. If you look down below in the description of the chat, I believe it's there. Hold on. Yes, it says jump into eFrontiers with my referral code. No, I cannot tell you about it. And the reason why that is because there is like a referral program for eFrontiers. So they gave us a referral code so that way people can use those referral codes and we get benefits for referring people to it. But I can't tell you what the game is like. Look, NDAs are very, very important, and I take them very, very seriously. Non-disclosure agreements, right? I've worked in the software industry before for quite some time. Like, it is important for a lot of different things, right? And the ability to be able to like have an NDA really provides a lot of protection for the company, so that way they can work with people outside of their company without being afraid that everything's going to get ruined, right? Like they can share stuff with the CSM, for example, because they're held under NDA, knowing that if the CSM ruins it, they can take action against it to suppress, make sure that that doesn't happen as much, right? So in the same way, if I break the NDA by telling you stuff about this game, I could have my Frontiers account removed. I could theoretically be kicked out of their Discord. I could theoretically be, as far as I know, theoretically, I could have action taken against me with my EVE Online account if I talk too much about eFrontiers. And yet, they want people to spend $100 for it. And I find that incredibly bizarre, right? Like, it feels, scammy's not the right word, but it feels very confusing that, like, they seem to want people to recommend people, refer people to it, and yet it's not there. Now, Uliam Nebel brings up a really good point, which is that the NDA may be because of crypto, so that they can say they took steps to not sell the crypto as an investment. I think you're partially there. I think that part of the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing is because, like, there is $50 million telling CCP what to do. And that's a huge influence on how they develop and what they do. So, if they don't want people to get an impression of what the game is before it is more fleshed out. But at the same time, they want people to be able to come in and do early access. So it's just a really confusing situation. Also, these things say limited supply. I have reached out to CCP to find out what they mean by limited supply, and I've gotten no response to that. As far as I know, they don't have any limited supply of how many people can buy Initiated versus Ascended. I don't know why this is here. I don't know if that's something that CCP should be worried about or whatever, but it is what it is. So if you want to get into Frontiers, you can do that. However, okay, like, this is how stupid this is, okay? I'll even say it right now. And if I'm in trouble, then please contact me, CCP, and I will tear it all down so that way I don't get in actual trouble. But, like, we have people in our Discord that are playing Eve Frontiers. The weirdest thing about this is that, okay, so here's the thing about it, okay? Usually, when there is an NDA, it is for a thing that not everybody gets to access, right? So, you know, we're doing a closed alpha test for a thing. So the testers are going to sign an NDA. Why? Because the stuff in there is not public knowledge, right? This is very simple stuff. Not everybody gets to have access to it. This very select few people get to have access to it. Therefore, we're going to give them an NDA so that way they can't share it with the general populace. But here's the weird thing about this. As I said at the very beginning, if you sign up on this website, you sign the NDA. So anyone could sign the NDA in theory. So we could get everybody who's currently watching this stream and get them to all go and sign the NDA. And then I could stream it privately to all of you. And that would not be breaking the NDA. We have now a special channel and a special role in our Discord that once somebody has registered on the website, I can give it to them. So then they can come into the NDA channels and, talk to us about NDA stuff. Right. But why? What is so magical about signing up for the website? Remember, you don't have to buy anything at this point. You just have to sign up for the website, which in my opinion is not a sufficient restriction to deem an NDA. Now, this is clearly just to do some sort of like content creator embargo. So that way I can't make a video and publish it publicly about it. But it's so like backwards that I'm having to jump through all of these hoops to like, oh, well, did you sign up on the website? Go sign up on the website and then you can come and talk to us. It's frustrating. And now, like, when I'm in the channel, people think that I'm trying to like keep them out and because they need to get the role. It's just, I don't know, man. And I feel like the NDA at this point is almost unnecessary. They could theoretically still do like a media embargo, so we couldn't stream or show off stuff from the game. But as far as I'm concerned, as soon as you start selling the thing, it shouldn't be under an NDA what it is anymore. Like, I can't even tell you what genre it is, per se. We can watch the video again, and we can talk about it, but, like, I cannot tell you whether or not you would enjoy the experience. I cannot tell you whether or not I recommend paying for one of these packs. I can only show you that they exist and give you my referral code. So I guess if you want better advice, make sure to sign up on the website and then DM me privately so that way we can talk about it. I don't know, man. I got nothing else to say about it, but that I think that that's pretty silly. However, there is a stronger problem with this, which is, here's the thing. The people who are buying these packs, the people that are going under NDA, they're likely CCP's biggest fans, right? The early adopters. They are silencing the early adopters and allowing people that haven't signed the NDA to run their mouth. And that is how we get articles like this one. Eve Frontiers as a blockchain foundation makes a worse MMO. Okay. It is a mark of pride for our readers that basically none of you are having CCP games trying to play around with... hold on. It's a mark of pride for our readers that basically none of you are having CCP games trying to play around with the idea that Eve Frontier shouldn't be called a blockchain game. Seriously, no one is buying this. This comes back from a previous article where CCP does not want you calling a blockchain game. Eve Frontier is a blockchain game. So this says, however, I think that there's something that is narrowly being lost in the mist, and this is the fact that Eve Frontier's stated reason for being a blockchain game is, in and of itself, very stupid. This is separate of the entire idea of the game, supposedly not offering NFTs, but built on the top of a chain that just happens to allow cryptocurrency. In an FAQ, basically describes the function of cryptocurrency without saying that that's what it's offering. One of the recurring elements of what I do in the vague patch notes column is attempting to assess and understand things, taking them at face value. And I've already done columns talking about how NFTs and MMORPGs are a bad, stupid idea. Let's start with half step back. One of the most pernicious and frankly ridiculous arguments that has been bouncing around the crypto sphere for ages is the idea that critiques of cryptocurrencies just don't understand crypto. This is ridiculous because of the programming that goes into these systems is very complicated and actual concepts behind them are very simple. A blockchain is a distributed ledger that is set to a pen-only input. That's kind of it. My dog is sleep barking. What does that mean? Essentially, it means that a blockchain is a long list of actions that can only be added rather than altered. The fact that it is distributed means that it exists across multiple machines as a shared accepted value. Think of a file torrenting system and you'll have a good idea. I mean, this isn't wrong, right? This is what blockchain is. It's basically a set of records that are held by multiple clients. So for redundancy, that's kind of it. If you're thinking that isn't so complicated, you're right. Oh, and the actual mechanism of programming it, making it work is extremely complex. But in terms of understanding what it does, yeah, it's not so hard. Your first instinct must be to ask what makes this particularly useful or desirable for a moddable video game. So let's break down CCP promising in the case of eFrontier. The argument in favor of using blockchain is to create a permanent, immutable universe with elements that are made by players and exist in perpetuity. In other words, CCP creates a framework and then players can explore it forever. You don't have to ever worry about these modifications being deprecated because the blockchain makes them permanent. I still think that they're starting to lose the script already, but we'll keep going. If this sounds like a dumb argument, you're right. And it starts with the obvious ways in which it's done. Let's look at a different game called Roblox. Roblox is many ways a terrible game based on exploiting content creators. Roblox isn't a terrible game. It's a terrible game engine filled with terrible games, but whatever. Mostly kids, but it is not using blockchain system of any sort. It is by definition incredibly moddable. In fact, there are now kind of lots of games that almost rely almost completely upon user-generated content to operate. Second Life is basically built around user content being little more than a platform for that. But if you think that sounds like a dumb argument because your games clearly do this without requiring any sort of blockchain, you may have gently missed the part of the problem here. And we're first to demonstrate this with Bree's first piece of content added to eFrontier. The Elliot Sucks Lounge. Editor's note, I would never do this. We love Elliot, but follow the logic here for a second. I assume that this is not something that was really done or is held under NDA. The lounge is, as you expect, filled to the brim with all sorts of things to talk about. Talk about how bad of a person I am. It also contains photos of me and my cats, my home address, and an invitation to throw eggs at me. You know, the general harassment stuff, the sort of thing that in most games will be taken down in a matter of minutes, because that's just the bad juju to keep around in your game. Except this game is based on the blockchain, which is an append-only database. You can't do that, remember? Not only is this whole system set up, nothing can ever be removed from the chain ever, it is also set up that the whole thing is distributed. The only way to roll these things back is to make a hard fork of the entire chain and recreate all of the legitimate parts of the game that were also in motion during the time while making sure no data are lost in the process. This isn't purely theoretical. If you're thinking that you'd hear about games on the blockchain doing this, has already happened. Wolf Game was a game that was hosted on-chain that had several bugs found in the NFTs used for core game mechanics, and since the whole thing was on-chain, the tokens couldn't be patched, only replaced. So the developers tried to remint identical fixed tokens for everyone, and it went so badly that this is why you don't ever hear about it. The reason why this doesn't come up more often is because usually these ideas crash and burn long before you bring in the bottom line of suckers. Hey, there's no reason to assume that CCP would keep all of that stuff on chain, and that's the legitimate point to make. We do not actually have a full picture of what will and will not be on chain, but that's also not the point. If you're storing anything on chain outside of the cryptocurrency, the chain is a uniquely terrible place to put it because anything broken cannot be altered. It can only be replaced. Forget harassment on anything like that. What if someone accidentally makes a bug content that permanently damages your character in some way? You can't patch it if it's on chain. The reason why most NFTs just link to an image file stored for regular servers is because putting these things on chain makes it actually less accessible. It is a tool that does not work well for doing so. Okay, great. Let's look at a couple things here. First of all, They're absolutely correct that blockchain is an append only. However, they are somewhat wrong by its relationship with Eve Frontiers, because remember that like Eve Frontiers is also a game, right? That has these, that basically accepts these blockchain based data points, but what they do with it is up to them, right? Your stuff can still be destroyed. Just because you've made it, minted it on the blockchain doesn't mean it can't necessarily be destroyed or altered or whatever. It just makes a permanent record, or it makes it a record that is independent of the databases or whatever of the game itself. So it can be sold as its own commodity, which is the big piece to all of this. So while it operates independently of the game, technically speaking, operates independently of it as well. So you could theoretically address stuff as long as the game was prepared to, it could theoretically modify the bit on the blockchain. There are solutions to this problem, even if, because the big problem is that if this thing, like this insult machine, was created and they want to get rid of it, they can't really get rid of it. All they can do is append to it, right? But for the purposes of Eve Frontiers, the latest thing is the only thing that matters. Therefore, changing it by appending to it would be the same as replacing it completely or destroying it even. So there aren't necessarily, that isn't the corner that they seem to suggest it is. In addition to that, like this idea that like the NFTs are just a link to an image file stored on a regular server isn't because of the fact that that's an easier way to do it. It's that Ethereum blockchain, which is what a lot of those NFTs are minted on, only has a very limited amount of room on any given cell. Therefore, like posting an entire JPEG on there would be a lot, but posting a URL isn't so bad. So, you know, we might be limited by how much we can put in any given block, but that's not the same thing as what he's really complaining about. So we have another article that was written by somebody, and I have talked to CCP and verified that this article is all stuff that is not NDA. So let's go ahead and check this out. Eve Frontier, the upcoming space survival simulation from CCP Game, may be poised to redefine the gaming industry. As a spiritual successor to the legendary EVE Online, a game I've been playing on and off since 2003, this ambitious project seeks to push the boundaries of player agency and economic systems to virtual worlds. At its core lies CCP CEO Hilmar, a bold vision, quote, "At CCP, our mission is to have the EVE universe outlive us all, EVE forever." To appreciate EVE Frontier's ambitious promise, it is worth recalling the legacy of EVE Online. Launched in 2003, EVE Online is a sprawling, space-based MMO that became legendary for its complex design, driven economy, massive fleet battles, and ruthless sandbox gameplay. Set in the distant galaxy of New Eden, players piloted spacecraft to explore, trade, mine, and wage war, all within a persistent universe shaped by their actions. This game's iconic mechanics, corporations, alliances, and intricate political systems made it a living testament to the power of emergent gameplay. Building on this foundation, EVE Frontier charts a bold new course. It presents a galaxy shattered by the gravitational forces of three supermassive black holes. Once thriving civilization, this region now lies in ruins, overrun by rogue AI that corrupts and consumes all in its path. Players awaken as survivors in this hostile expanse, scouring resources, forging alliances, and working to rebuild society from the ground up. You can see some stuff going on. There's some ships doing some stuff. Somebody got blown up. Somebody's warping in. EVE Frontier introduces innovative gameplay systems that distinguish it from traditional MMO. Digital physics. The universe runs on fixed physical laws where every action demands energy fuel. This mechanic deepens resource management and survival strategies, making decisions impactful. Smart assemblies. Players can design and program customizable objects, creating intricate structures like storage units and defense systems. This feature empowers players to shape their bases and interact with the world in unprecedented ways. And dynamic combat. Tactical and skill-based combat is cornerstone, requiring manual piloting and sharp situational awareness. Asteroids and massive structures can provide cover, introducing a strategic layer to battles. Blockchain integration, a game changer. Perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of EVE Frontier is an integration of blockchain technology. This bold approach enables player-created currencies. Players can develop their own cryptocurrencies. Player markets. Players can establish economic zones with custom rules and real-world value. In-game assets gain tangible economic worth. The game introduces two primary tokens, the EVE token, a utility token on Ethereum blockchain, and the Lux token, the in-game transactional currency. EVE on CCP Games also plans to open source its proprietary Carbon engine, inviting players to develop and expand the game world. Like tools like Solidity, the Mud framework, and Redstone allow, these are Solidity, Mud framework, and Redstone are crypto stuff, allow for player-driven innovation, from creating mission systems to private economies and automated resource networks. Let's take a closer look at some of these tools. As a software developer, one of the things I'm most excited about is the robust set of tools and languages that will be used to create custom content and functionality within the game. The primary framework for player-driven development in eFrontier is called Smart Assemblies. Players can utilize the following rules and languages for the development of eFrontier. Solidity. This open source programming language is the primary method for coding functionality into smart assemblies. Mud framework, a specialized smart contract development framework designed for creating autonomous worlds on Ethereum-based blockchains. Carbon engine, CCP Games' proprietary game engine, which will eventually be open source to allow players to program in the in-game world. And Redstone, an L2 blockchain designed for permissionless and open software development. Using smart assemblies, players construct smart storage units, marketplaces, quest hubs, and bounty systems, smart turrets, customized target systems, smart gates, warp gates with programmable access, and industrial units, facilities for crafting and manufacturing. These mechanics offer limitless creative potential, empowering players to shape the universe based on their imagination and technical skills. Challenge ahead. While eFrontier undeniably ambitious, significant hurdles remain. Blockchain skepticism. Let's face it, blockchain gaming carries baggage. With many of its reputations, Web3 games in general are facing significant challenges, with over 75% of projects failing in the first 5 years. CCP faces the challenge of proving the technology's value in fostering true player ownership and immersive world building. Community fragmentation. EVE Online community, fierce and fiercely loyal and vocal, may, and it seems already, view eFrontier with suspicion, especially if it appears to detract from ongoing development of the original game. Man, there's nobody... One of the biggest reasons why all of the CCP Games projects besides EVE Online have been stymied has been because of the EVE community shitting on anything that CCP does that isn't EVE Online. Complexity. Balancing gameplay with both tech-savvy players and those who prefer simple mechanics will be critical to ensuring accessibility. Will players who are unfamiliar with or uninterested in coding, blockchain, and similar features still enjoy the game? So, I don't know if any of this is necessarily worth looking into. Despite these challenges, eFrontier could set the standard for MMO design by merging blockchain, player-driven economies, and groundbreaking mechanics. CCP Games aims to blur the lines between virtual worlds and reality. As someone who admires bold innovation, I'm thrilled to see CCP taking risks. While past efforts like EVE Valkyrie and EVE Echoes were met with mixed success, eFrontiers is by far the most ambitious extension of the EVE universe yet. I highly recommend reading the game's thorough white paper for a deeper dive into its design and goals. Currently in closed alpha, eFrontier holds the potential to transform gaming. Whether it fulfills its lofty promises remains to be seen, but one thing is for certain, the project represents a new frontier, not just for EVE Online CCP Games, but for the entire gaming industry. Everything here is strictly by open public information. And then there's also eFrontier is not really a blockchain game, no more than EVE is a database game. CCP hopes that you'll give crypto a chance for a space sim with tactical combat bordering on survival horror. And yeah, that is the big thing. It's just that, like, EVE Online is EVE Online is a database game in the fact that, like, all of the stuff that's in the game is stored in databases. The blockchain gets involved to kind of separate the stuff out from being, instead of being on EVE's CCP's one database server, it's now stored on a blockchain-based data structure, right? Which is just a different way of dealing with data, and it insulates itself from the game itself by a certain measure, which allows people to interact with it independently of the game itself, right? Like, you can sell the access to the token without necessarily doing anything inside of the game per se, right? Now, how that actually affects things, I'm not 100% sure yet, but the point that I'm trying to bring up here is that this guy doesn't necessarily know what he's talking about when it comes to how the blockchain will be used. And that is the point that I'm trying to make when it comes to this whole NDA thing, right? I would be able to give you more solid answers about my feelings about where the blockchain is going and how it connects to the game, et cetera, et cetera. I could, you know, assure you, or I could confirm things, but I can't do any of that because I'm held under NDA. And so these people who don't necessarily know what they're talking about can just claim whatever they want to claim, and the people who will know better aren't allowed to talk about it. And that really concerns me because as this guy rightfully pointed out, the EVE player base is pretty hostile to non-EVE Online games. And so people fucking lie about things that are going on in EVE Online. You think that without any proper ability to talk to the opposite, people aren't going to make up whatever the hell they want to about what EVE Frontiers is and is doing? I'm telling you, man, like, I get the point of having an NDA, but I think that the longer that we are having an open NDA where anybody can access it by just getting onto the website, while at the same time having people in the game dealing with stuff, people are possibly going to break the NDA. And a lot of those people, nobody's going to break the NDA to tell people how great it is. People might break the NDA to tell people how they don't like it. So we're basically, CCP is just guaranteeing that all of the information, all of the messaging that are coming out about this game right now is going to be negative and probably unsubstantiated. And that troubles me a lot. So please, CCP, please, let's reconsider our NDA and let us talk about it at least a little bit. I was a huge World of Darkness cheerleader too. Arguably, that's why I got into EVE Online. But yeah. To say that EVE Frontiers is not is not CCP is it to claim that EVE Frontiers is not from CCP is to completely miss everything that CCP has said about EVE Frontiers and everything Hilmar has said about anything in the last decade. Like, I can tell you this right now, just based on the video that we watched, EVE Frontiers is like Hilmar's wish list as a video game. So, I don't know, man. It seems pretty from CCP to me. But yeah, I'm interested. Dude, wake up. This is Push from South Korea. Have you... Then why is the primary features of it what CCP Hilmar has been saying was the things that he would wish that EVE Online could have since 2019 before the company was purchased? Riddle me that. Also, South Korea didn't fund this game, if you didn't know. A16Z did, and other crypto dudes. This has actually very little to do. You could argue, I would be willing to listen to the argument that EVE Galaxy Conquest is largely influenced by South Korea. Hilmar, again, these are based on what Hilmar has said about EVE Online in the decade prior to it being purchased as a company. No, I absolutely agree with you that crypto bought this game. Yep, I agree with you on that. A16Z or whoever has a ton of influence over this game. They paid him $50 million to make this game. That doesn't mean that Hilmar isn't making his wish list, his dream. What would EVE be if I could remake it today? You know? So, but again, I can't talk about it. I can't give you any details. I can't give you any firm answer. You do not buy the cow to drink the milk, bro. Okay. We've talked about this before. They're not buying the cow to drink the milk. They're buying the cow. More importantly, they are hiring a company to make a dairy farm because they want people to accept dairy in their food groups. Right? The entire point of this from a crypto side of things, the entire point of this is the entire point of this from a crypto point of view. Why did A16Z and them have $50 million to put into this? Why? They're invested in crypto being considered a legitimate thing, right? Everything they do is to legitimize crypto. So if they can create a game that works with crypto, regardless of how separated it is, regardless of how it is sold, regardless of whatever, if they can make it not a complete disaster, then this is good for Bitcoin, right? It's not about the fact that they want milk. They want crypto games. They want there to be a crypto game that people accept as being okay or good. That's what they want. Okay? I get the crypto thing. I only stay away from it because of NetEase. NetEase has nothing to do with any of these projects. NetEase is Eve Echoes, not Galaxy Conquest or Frontiers. But yeah, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, we need to be able to talk about what this game is and isn't. And I get that the NDA is there to protect because it's in a very like bare bones pre-alpha state, but instead we're just allowing people to come to their own conclusions, which in my opinion is significantly worse. And that's my main takeaway from today's topic. Okay. Like, I won't be talking very much about eFrontiers very much because I don't want to get kicked in the nards because of, this game is crypto bro porn. I mean, that is a lot closer to an agreeable statement. I will say that, that's the thing is that they wanted there to be a legitimized crypto game, and Hilmar convinced them that remaking Eve with a crypto backend would be a good way to do it. And remaking Eve is even a misnomer, but like taking the philosophies of Eve and adding it to crypto would be the way to go about it. It's not NDA if I don't know what I'm talking about, okay? But again, so I said last week that we were going to be going over the videos and stuff like that. The problem is that a lot of the videos that they're showing is under the NDA, so I can't actually talk about any of those things or what the game is like or if I'm enjoying it or even if I'm playing it that much. So you're not going to hear a ton from me about Frontiers until that gets situated. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the NDA and why I won't be talking about eFrontiers as much as I expected to. That makes sense? We good now? Okay, great. Well, look, guys, that is about all I had to cover today. I need to go check on my son to make sure everything's good. And I should be back tomorrow, probably. Message me for topics or whatever. I just hope there's actual roleplay. There's actual roleplay in EVE Online. In fact, everybody's roleplaying in EVE Online, whether or not they want to or not. Keep safe, Ash. Chicken noodle soup for the cat. Man, I wish I could get my son to eat chicken noodle soup. You're right. I'm using those two terms interchangeably, although in this case, it seems like there's both because there's blockchain, but as this article points out, it uses the EVE token is minted on Ethereum, so it is crypto too, I guess. But one of the biggest things about this is that, like, the whole point is that the Solidity is a programming language that can be stored in Ethereum. So this allows you to create little programs that are held in Ethereum, and that is how you can put things into the game. That's my understanding, at least. Well, I've talked about EVE-RP before. That's a bigger topic, but I think I need to start wrapping things up. So I've been Astrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Imperians. Thank you guys so much. There's a lot of EVE going on right now. If you want to get involved, please come onto our Discord for the latest news and excitement. If you have not gotten your million free SP in EVE Online, make sure to use a link down below to get your free million skill points. And of course, with Christmas coming up, there is merch, including mugs like this and the cool software developer not equal tech support t-shirt. But all that said, I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I will see you in space.